Hey everybody, I apologize for the delay. In my defense, I have made two videos, and in both videos there are airplanes and car horns and sirens and lions and tigers and bears on mine. So as I tried to edit through them and me losing my train of thought through those videos, I realized both of them are trash. So I'm coming to you fresh off the dome. And in this episode, I want to talk about growth. I believe we have some misconceptions about growth, and I'm saying we because I'm dismantling them in my own life. Um, but I want to talk about growth. I personally just had a birthday, and on my birthday post on Instagram, some of you may have seen, I talked a lot about what my year of 26 was, what my chapter 26 was, and it was a lot of uncovering, healing, releasing, confronting, accountability, a lot of different things. And I mentioned I cried a lot, which I did. And it just felt like I was walking through a wilderness that I just did not understand. I knew that I was growing, I knew that I was changing, but what that change would entail and who I was becoming on the other side of it, and I'm still in the middle of it, I just didn't get it. And it was incredibly lonely and really, really awkward, man. Just growth is weird, dude. And I talked about it, and a lot of people reached out or commented about how much they could relate and how appreciative they were of my transparency. And it led me to want to talk about that very topic, growth. There comes a point in your life when you realize that there's a difference between change and growth. Change is when your life is just changing. Your life is going to change. You're going to get older. You may move apartments or homes or cars or whatever. Change in life is inevitable. It will happen. For instance, the examples I just used, you may have to move apartments, they take up your rent, you move. You may have to get a new car, it gets old, machinery gets old. But that does not necessarily mean that you are growing and progressing within yourself. One thing I'm realizing now is growth is intentional. Change is inevitable, but growth is intentional. To grow as a person means you are doing certain things. You are sacrificing certain things. You are sowing into certain things. You're giving time to certain behaviors and habits. You're taking time from certain behaviors and habits that you ultimately believe will help you become the best version of yourself. So for me, one of the things that I am doing to grow is I started going to therapy last year in November. So it's August now. So it's almost been a year of meeting with a therapist and allowing someone to evaluate and analyze my thoughts and the way that I think and the way that I feel about certain things. And that has been such a catalyst for my growth because sometimes we never hear what we're thinking outside of ourselves. I want to say that a little differently. We don't often look at our thoughts and the things that we say to ourselves objectively. So to have someone bounce those things off of who goes, hey, what's that? That has really opened my eyes to a lot of areas that I'm not completely developed in. I'm going to share one. I have often searched for, whether consciously or subconsciously, the approval, validation, and affirmation from other people. And the irony of that is I'm in an industry where you don't often receive those things. It's a very isolated experience being in the entertainment industry, especially the music industry. And so I am growing out of that because it no longer serves me. And if I may be really honest with you, it never served me. But now I'm moving into a point in my life where I'm making certain choices and I'm taking certain risks. And it requires me to just believe in me and who God says I am. I don't have time to wait for other people to clap and pat me on the back. Though it probably would make me feel a little better, the woman in me is stepping forward and saying, no, I can handle this. And I'm having to put the little girl in me to rest. Because that's ultimately not a plane, but some sound. That's ultimately what's happening. There's that scripture in the Bible where Jesus says, when I was a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. And that's literally the stage of life that I'm in right now, where I'm noticing some of my little girl habits, my spending habits. Pray, saints, pray. My time management habits, certain things that I just didn't pay a lot of attention to. I am now going, oh, that's a bigger deal than I thought it was. Or, oh, what was once optional to me is now a priority to me because of where I want to go and the goals that I have for my life. I now understand the relationship between my day-to-day choices and me attaining my goals. And it has caused me to be intentional to grow in certain areas, like talking about my need for validation, which stems from me feeling very rejected at times during my life via my childhood and also the industry where I'm in, which is constant rejection. And me having to say to myself, I accept me. Sometimes everybody won't like me. I accept me. I just did a competition on YouTube, and that was the greatest growth experience for me because, one, it took me outside of my comfort zone to even try it. And then towards the end, when I realized it wasn't for me allowing myself to say, just because they don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. I may not have their validation and their affirmation, but I believe in myself. That was a level in my self-growth that I had been praying and hoping to get to. And it came through the form of rejection, the very thing I've had an issue with. But because I've actively been making different choices, praying different prayers, I do daily affirmations now, that I am capable and that I'm gifted and that I'm loved and that I am enough. I can have an experience like that and realize that it does not speak to me about my worth or value as a person or even my worth and value as an entertainer. It's merely a difference of opinion, right? I'm still called. I'm still chosen. I'm still going to do great and amazing things in this world. You don't have to get it. It's cool. Much love. I don't hold nothing against anybody, right? But I could only get to that place because of the growth I have been intentionally pressing into over the last 9 months. And it was so beautiful, and I had such peace. I can't even put it in words. That experience, I had such peace at the end because I was like, oh, dope, okay, cool. That's not for me. Let's move on to what is. You know what I'm saying? Another area that I'm growing in is, like I mentioned before, my spending habits. See, I've never really had money before, especially in my career. Like, what was the purpose of learning how to manage money when I had none to manage? Like, I'm literally poverty level. What am I managing? I'm managing my thoughts about money. What am I managing? Now I'm in a position where I'm no longer struggling to get by kind of thing. And so it's requiring me to look at my spending habits and my money management and go, hey, what's working and what isn't? And I'm realizing that though the amount of money that I'm making has changed, that does not imply that I have grown in my understanding and my handling of my money. I'm realizing that my change in my income must be matched, if not exceeded by, a growth in my perception of money and what role it should play in my life. So those are some areas that I'm going in. The other thing I want to talk about is the awkwardness and the vulnerability that comes with growth. When you are growing, it means you are not yet where you want to be, but you're on the way. And what that means is you have to know that other people are watching you in this in-between process. Those are my neighbors having a lovely conversation right out my door. People are watching your decision making. They're watching this awkward process that you're going through. And that can be many times what keeps us and hinders us from growing is, what are people going to say about me? What are people going to think about me? Are they going to think I'm crazy? Are they going to think I'm weird? Are they going to think I'm this or that or whatever because I'm not yet, or I'm almost, or I haven't. I should specify my prayers. My prayers should not just include airplanes, but they should also include crying children. Gotta specify those prayers. Anyway, you're going to have to confront your fears of people not getting the decisions you're making, the choices that you're making, what you're doing. I remember when I moved to LA, and I didn't know why God was telling me to come out here. This was never my plan. My plan was to move to New York. And people had so many different things to say. They told me I should stay in Sarasota and work at my father's theater company. They told me I should move to New York and do Broadway. I heard all kinds of stuff, but I knew what God had told me. I knew I was supposed to go to LA. And I remember part of the pressure that I put on myself once I moved here was, what if they're right? Can they see this awkward stage where I moved here, but I don't yet have a job? I have a dream, but it hasn't yet manifested in my life. What are they going to think of me? You have to understand that your growth process is going to be awkward. It's going to be vulnerable. So be mindful and careful of how much importance you put on what other people think about it. If you cut your hair and you're in that awkward stage where you kind of look like a chia pet, it is not to its regular length yet, or your goal length, and you're no longer bald head bunny, you have to figure out, it was so stupid. You're gonna have to figure out how much importance you're gonna put on what people think of you. No, my hair is not where I want it to be. I cut it, I did it for a reason, and I'm gonna wait and take care of it until I get to where I want it to be. It's funny, I was just thinking earlier, when you buy a puppy, most people, first they ask what breed it is. After you tell them what breed it is, whether it's full bred or mixed breed, then they go, oh, how big do they get? There's this innate understanding that though I can see this puppy at this size, I know it will change. I know it's going to grow into something else. But people don't always give that same grace to other people. People will look at you where you are and judge you and go, oh, that's all you're ever going to be. Know that God sees you differently, and you're going to have to make a conscious choice to see you differently. There are people in my life right now that though they can see what I'm doing, they think I will only ever be a great background singer. Oh, she's so good at that. She's just going to work in that forever. They don't see the albums I'm going to make, the things I'm going to do in the entertainment industry, things that I've dreamt of, that I've prayed about, that I know are for sure going to happen. I know some people look at me and they go, she's such a great background singer. And I'm learning to be okay with that. I'm in the in-between stage, and you with your limited vision can only see where I am right now. But I have a vision for myself. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm purposed to do, and it will happen. And you're just going to have to watch and perhaps be a little surprised. But that's not my business. That's yours. Understand that your awkwardness and that vulnerable space that you're in is to be protected. You can't let everybody in. You can't tell everybody. You can't share everything with everybody. It's going to be awkward, it's going to be painful, and many times, if I may be really freaking honest with you, it's going to be lonely. Because though there may be people around you while you're growing, nobody's going through your exact growth process. No one is. You are your individual self, created for a specific purpose. And so there's a specific growth process that you must go through to be ready for that. Or there's specific things you're going to have to grow in because you know where you want to go and you know how far you are from that. Watch what you let people say to you and about you during that time period, because it is so special and you are so vulnerable during that time. It's like a butterfly in a cocoon. The truth of the matter is, if you cut the cocoon open before it's time, that butterfly or caterpillar at that point, butterfly, whatever it is, that moment, will die. It's that vulnerable. It's changing, it's metamorphosizing. And if you are to open it too soon or to try to share it with someone too soon, you can kill or greatly damage the very thing that you're working toward. So protect yourself. Don't be afraid of the awkwardness and the vulnerability, but protect it. Because everybody is not worthy of knowing and hearing what it is that you're working toward or growing or building. And then lastly, it's during your growth period that you really realize who your friends are, who your tribe is. There are people you will be friendly with, but they can't be part of your tribe. There's that African proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. Let me tell you something. Even after you're no longer a child, it takes a village to help a person become. It does, man. It does. It's awkward. It's weird. It takes a village for people to become. A village of accountability, a village of love, a village of grace, a village of encouragers to be like, sis, I know you fell, get up, bro. Like, no, we're not doing this. We're not wallowing in this. Let's keep it moving. Be mindful of things that people say to you. I remember a couple years ago, and I'm gonna tell my business as I normally do on here, I decided to become celibate. It was a decision, something I've been talking about God with, or rather he had been talking to me about. And I finally had decided I was going to, I was telling a story, I had to take a phone call. I decided to become celibate, and I decided to share it with a friend because I was excited about it. I knew it was going to be challenging, but it was an area that I needed to grow in, an area that I needed to be healed in my relationship with God. And I remember that conversation so distinctly because this person was doing every single thing they could to convince me that it was dumb, that it was a waste of my time. I realize now that it's because they were going through their own thing. But wisdom shows me now, what is this? Wisdom shows me now that that's not what friends do. That's not a friend. A friend, even if they're not in the position that you are in your life, even if they're not ready to take that plunge, whatever it may be, they're at least going to encourage you and go, you know what, I ain't there yet, but I wish you the best friend. If you need me to hold you accountable, you need me to pray for you, I will. I'm trying to get there myself. But they're not going to try to talk you out of growing. And that's something we all need to be aware of. Watch the way that people speak to you, talk about your growth process to you, because many times that's God's way of showing us who really is and is not for us. So be observant during your growth process, be protective of your growth process, but don't run from it. Because it's going to be awkward, it's going to be uncomfortable, at times it may even be painful. But I'm a firm believer that when you come out on the other side of this evolution, you will be grateful and all around better because of it. So thank y'all for watching this channel. I've gotten more subscribers. These videos have been shared and you all have been reaching out saying how much these videos are helping you, and that really blesses me. So more than you know. So I'm going to keep posting. I'm going to be more consistent. Hold me accountable. And thank you. Have a blessed day. I love you all. I wish you the absolute best in everything that you're working to become.